Hey folks, this is Mr. Hartzler. I'm changing the oil on my wife's car. It's a 2000 Honda Civic. And what I have out so far is the drain plug. And underneath, it's still leaking out a little bit, still draining. Something I wanted to point out to everybody though is drain plugs. This one's not this way, but my truck and a lot of other vehicles it is. The bottom of the drain plug is a magnet, so you want to make sure you clean off the magnet. Again, in this case it's not a magnet, but a lot of times it is, and you'll have some metal built up on there. So you always want to make sure you clean off your drain plug really well. Some of them will have a small kind of a gasket or a washer that helps seal things up a little better. This one doesn't, and it's not worth it for me to make sure that is on there. Just make sure you get it nice and tight and sealed up, and should be good to go. I'll show you a couple more tips and tricks as we go. So now we're underneath the car, and you'll notice right here, that's our oil drain plug. I put it back in, now that's nice and cleaned up. Up a little bit further, the red cylinder, that's our oil filter. This is the old one still, I have to take it off. Make sure before you change your oil, you always run your car for a little while. Running it for a little bit will help loosen up all the carbon, and when you drain your oil, you'll get just a cleaner engine left afterwards. Some people have wrenches to take them off. I typically just use a little bit of a rag in my hand. Apply constant, steady pressure. It doesn't have to be a jerk or anything, but steady pressure will help loosen up that seal. When you start loosening up the oil filter, you'll notice it tends to leak out all around that oil filter. And in this case, there's a lot of stuff underneath it, so it drains out kind of all over the place. Some vehicles, like my truck, it's not that way. The oil filter is sitting upright. So when you loosen it, you lose just a tiny little bit straight down off the oil filter, and that's it. But in this case, it's on its side. So it's in this orientation. So as I loosen it, I'm losing all the fluid that's inside that filter. So when that's the case, try and bust the seal, have it start leaking out. And once, like as you see now, it's just kind of a steady drip. Take it the rest of the way off. Another important tip, when you're putting a new oil filter in, you always want to fill it up as much as you can with oil. Again, I said earlier, when this oil filter is on the car, it's turned at an angle, it's on its side. So I can't fill it all the way up and keep it that way because I'll be dumping oil out of it while I'm putting it on. But the more oil you are able to fit into it before you put on, the better. You end up with less dry starts that way. And you always want your engine filled with oil. So if I put a completely dry oil filter, it has to go through, fill it up with oil, then get sent to my engine. And that's not a good thing. So again, fill it up with oil, take a little bit of oil and take it around that rubber gasket. This will help make a nice tighter seal, makes it easier to take on and off, and you end up with less leaks. So again, make sure there's oil around here and oil inside. Once you fill it up a little bit, you'll notice it'll kind of slowly sink in and fill up all of the filament that goes back and forth. Sometimes it's glass, sometimes it's synthetic, sometimes it's just kind of a paper material. But either way, you want to fill up the oil filter as much as you can. And on my truck, it's in the orientation just like it is here. I just lift it up and screw on. And in that way, I can fill it completely up to the top, make sure it soaks in, and keep topping it off. Your oil pressure gets right up to normal very quickly in that way. I'm not a big fan, I don't really care. Sorry about like what kind of oil filter it is. This one ends up being an extended performance by Mobil 1, but it really doesn't make a difference. Most oil filters at this point are pretty good. Fram is one that just about everybody says to stay away from, but honestly, they're all pretty good at this point. A lot of people don't know this either, but oil jugs and bottles are all designed for a very specific reason. Milk, you'll notice the opening is in the middle, but oil is always going to be on an end. And so if I turn my bottle sideways, I can have it come out very slowly if I want, even if it's very full. And then as I slowly empty it out, I can start to rotate that bottle up. So again, oil is designed like this for a reason. Most engineers try and make smart choices. They put the opening on one end so I can turn my bottle on its side and pour it in slowly. I've already poured some out of here, so it's not happening as fast anyway. But that's why all the oil cans are shaped the way they are. Put it on its side and you'll end up with a lot less spilling. And of course, use a funnel. Two last things when you're changing your oil. Make sure you always put the old stuff back in a jug. It has to be a jug that used to contain oil or is designed to hold oil, and take it back to your auto parts store and have them recycle it for you. I believe you can only do 5 gallons a month, but nobody goes through that much oil in 1 month. Then go and check your air cleaner, your air filter. For us in this car, it's right underneath that plastic hood. Rule of thumb I always use is, as long as there's no bulky pieces between each of these little ruffles, we're good. And then I'll hold it up to the light and I'll see if I can see that screen in the back. If I can see that, then I consider myself to be okay. Well, have a great day, everybody. Keep changing your own oil. When you do that, you know exactly what goes in and you can see exactly what comes out. Goodbye and good luck, everybody.